Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review for you, as is usual. This is the first one I'm filming in quite a while for you actually, but I'm now in Melbourne in the state of Victoria in Australia, so over the next 10 or 15 videos you will be getting a number of Victorian and South Australian beers reviewed for you. So those of you who have subscribed to my channel from Australia, I hope you enjoy this series, and those of you watching outside of Australia, I hope you enjoy it as well. And there's some really good beer down here. I've tried a few of them, and there's a very good selection of kind of unheard of beers in Australia, and hopefully I'll get to review quite a lot of them for you. But since this is my first Australian beer review since I've been down here, I thought it'd be cool to start with my local brewery. So my local brewery is called the Public Brewery. It's from Croydon in eastern part of Melbourne, and this is their Galaxy Amber Ale. And this brewery is only about a 5-minute walk up the road here. But as always, I'll just tell you a few facts about the brewery. If you want to go straight to the tasting, just fast forward. And as always as well, the brewery website is in the video description for you below, and there's a link there that will take you to my future reviews from the Public Brewery. But anyway, the brewery opened up just a few months before I arrived back in spring of 2014, and they're based in an old grain and processing factory in the Croydon suburb of eastern Melbourne. But the company have converted this building into a really beautiful venue with a nice kind of dining hall and bar, and there's a really cool beer garden out the back actually, and they also have their own bottle shop which sells various beers from across the state of Victoria. There's some very famous breweries down here. Some of the better known Australian craft breweries are based in Victoria. Victoria seems to be the kind of hub of craft brewing, although there's a lot of good things out in Western Australia as well apparently. But the brewing apparatus for the Public Brewery is actually left visible to the customers, and it's just to your right as you enter the big kind of hangar shed thing that the brewery is based in. And you're actually welcome to use it as well. If you go on the website, you can actually book a slot at the brewery in advance, and their team will help you brew your own batch of beer, which is very, very cool actually. I wish if I'd had more time in Victoria, I actually would have done that. But they also serve their own food as well, which is very, very good, and it's got very good ratings, I believe, from the kind of food critics as well. But it's very, very good food, and they grow all their own vegetables on site as well, so it's a very kind of unique operation in that sense, that a lot of their stuff is their own produce, so very, very cool. And if you do find yourself in Croydon in Melbourne, I do recommend that you go and check out. A lot of my friends said to me before I came to Croydon, it's a bit of a kind of dodgy area a little bit, but they've got a very nice brewery, so it's definitely worth visiting for that. But anyway, we'll get on to the tasting of this beer now. Let me just bring up the camera and you can have a little look at the artwork on this one. I got this one in the bottle shop in the brewery. I'm told that the label they put on this, I asked them to put it on so I could show it on the video, but I'm told that they will actually get proper labels on their beer soon. So this is just a very kind of simple one that they've made, and you can see the Public Brewery symbol there just in the little circle. So you will get proper labels from these guys in the future. Hopefully I can get more of their beers when they do have that anyway. But you can see this guy is 330ml bottle, it's 5.2% alcohol by volume, and it's called the Galaxy Amber Ale, which should be quite nice. So let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting here. See if I can just... no, this bottle opener isn't the best. But there we are. So, let's get this guy out. But their beer, I've tried a few of their different beers on tap. Not the Amber Ale, but they've got a really nice kind of stout and a nice kind of pale ale beer there. And they were doing a brown ale for a period as well, which was very nice. But I thought I'd do the Amber Ale since I haven't tried it, so it's kind of a blind tasting for me, this one, if you like. So, as you can see, it's poured a really nice kind of coppery amber colour, as you would expect from an amber ale. There's a good kind of finger of a slightly beigeish frothy head on there. It's got a few bigger bubbles as well though, and you can see there's actually quite a good bit of carbonation visible in it too. A lot of it's sticking towards the bottom of this glass here, and a lot of big bubbles kind of going up towards the top. But let's give it a smell and see how we get on. It's got a really kind of sweet caramel and sort of fruity aroma to it coming out. It's quite a kind of, yeah, it does have a little bit of a kind of sharp hoppy smell that just kind of mixes in with it, but it does have the typical thing you'd expect of the amber ale. It's got that really sweet kind of caramel bready and quite yeasty base. It's got a little bit of toasted character, I would say too, maybe some kind of nutty aromas, but it definitely has the very typical elements that you would expect of the amber ale. There's nothing too much that stands out about the aroma other than that it's a very well mixed aroma, if that makes sense. So if you do get this one, just take a little bit of time, as I always say, get used to the aroma, because sometimes the aroma can give a good idea of how the beer is going to taste. But it smells, this is a very, very sweet smelling beer actually, so hopefully with an amber ale it's a very nice kind of big and malty beer. So let's give it a taste. This is the Galaxy Amber Ale from the Public Brewery in Croydon, Melbourne, Victoria. So here we are. Cheers. It's very, very light actually, very light beer. It does have a nice kind of hoppy character to it that sticks to the front of the tongue, but overall it is quite malty. It's quite a mild amber ale actually. The flavours are very subtle but they mix very well together. Sometimes you get ones that have very, very strong flavours and there's something that's always quite prominent, but this one's good because it mixes together and you get all these nice kind of little subtle elements to the flavour. Yeah, you've got a kind of hoppy character that mixes well with the carbonation in this one. It's a nice kind of sort of grassy, aromatic-y, kind of lemony citric flavour that comes out, I think. And then on the back of the tongue, that's when you're starting to get the nice kind of more classic amber ale flavours, if you like. You're getting the nice kind of caramel flavours. It's slightly roasted actually. You do pick up this kind of slightly roasted character that sits towards the back of the tongue there on the edge. You get this nice kind of fresh hoppy character that goes right round the edge of the tongue and sits on the front, but in the middle is where you're starting to get the kind of sweet malty character from it. I might be mistaken, but I think there's a little bit of a kind of berry fruit flavour coming out in this one. I might be mistaken about that, but I think there's definitely a kind of almost slightly reddish berry flavour that comes into this one. But it's quite an unusual thing for an amber ale, that. But yeah, it's got a nice kind of sweet, bready, slightly yeasty malt base in there. This one is a little bit more hop forward, I would say, than some amber ales I've had, but it balances very well. You've got a good mix between the hop forward part of the beer and also the kind of the malty flavours. The hop forward part of the beer comes out at the start and then it becomes a bit more prominent again in the aftertaste, but in the centre of the beer you do have this kind of quite nice malty character. You're getting a nice kind of mix of bready flavours, some nice nutty character and a bit of the kind of sweet yeastiness in there. The caramel isn't too sharp in this one. The fruity character kind of takes over that a little bit. But it's very nice actually. As I said to you at the start on the first taste, it's a very kind of nice blend of flavours. It's quite subtle in a certain way. The hoppy character, as you drink it a little bit more, becomes a wee bit more prominent, I would say. But it's a nice beer. I think it's maybe on the draft you would get a little bit more of the malt character coming out. I always find that beers are a little bit more malty when it comes to on the cask ale, and maybe it's just the bottle conditioning that makes the hoppy element come out a little bit more. But it's a very, very nice beer, and as I say, this one is more of a blended flavour, but the hops do become a little bit more prominent on the as you go through it. In terms of the mouthfeel, I definitely say it's light bodied. In terms of how much carbonation you see, it's quite smooth actually. It's more, the carbonation is quite light in this one, despite how many bubbles you saw in the glass earlier, which is quite nice. But it's very smooth and it's quite an easy drinking one. I would definitely say this is a light bodied one, maybe pushing the mid-bodied, but when it's chilled it's quite a nice and refreshing beer. So, and that's obviously what they do in Australia. They like their beers to be a bit more carbonated and to be very kind of light, obviously, because it's very, very hot here a lot of the time. But yeah, it's a very, very nice beer. And some of the other stuff that they do in the brewery is very, very good, particularly the dark beers were very nice. They had a nice bitter beer and a nice stout when I was in there before, so hopefully I can get a few more of those at some point and review them for you. Maybe by that time they'll have their kind of official labels on the beers and stuff like that. But again, this is a very, very nice amber ale. If you do find yourself in the eastern part of Melbourne, in Croydon, go and check them out. They've got some very nice food, quite a nice one, and you can see their opening hours of the brewery on the website there. But I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. As I said, there will be more Victorian beer reviews for you to come over the next little while, so please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Comment if you've tried the beer yourself. I'm always interested to hear that. But I'll catch you soon with my next beer review. Cheers.